Now we're going to start recording. Thank you all for joining. This is a KRM Lunch and Learn. I'll go ahead and start the slides here. Get out of there. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple of intros and then turn it over to our mental health team. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wanted at KRM to highlight some of our services and help provide a better understanding for folks of the refugee experience and people, how displacement and forced migration affect mental health and what we do to provide for clients, what you all can do to support, and how better to welcome our refugee newcomers thinking about mental health awareness, trauma-informed care, and cultural considerations. And so I'll introduce our team and KRM, and they're going to chat about some different terms and definitions, provide you with statistics, the impacts of forced migration and displacement, our services that we provide here at KRM, and how you all can support it, and then a time for questions at the end. So KRM, if anybody's not familiar, it's Kentucky Refugee Ministries, and we are a refugee resettlement organization, the largest office here in the state of Kentucky and a prominent one nationwide. We're one of the top resettlement locations for Cubans and for Congolese folks, people from the Democratic Republic of Congo, along with a lot of other different populations. But we provide comprehensive resettlement services to clients, everything from casework to housing to interpretation, immigration legal services, ESL classes, all the things, to make sure that folks are able to resettle here and have everything that they need, and also an advocate for folks in the community. And we've been around for 33 years. And here in Louisville, we have offices in Lexington and in Northern Kentucky and Covington now. And we have in that time resettled around 18,000 people from over 50 different nationalities and ethnic groups that speak over 100 different languages. So quite the eclectic crew. And about our mental health services team. So for the longest time, we had one mental health services coordinator. Holly Cunningham has been, I think, here coming up on 3 years and holding down the fort. But, the population that we serve, it's very specific, and there are a lot of refugee specific needs. And a great majority of our folks have experienced a pretty significant and ongoing amount of trauma. And we wanted to ensure that everyone had the ability to get their mental health needs met. And that was an overwhelming undertaking, as you can probably imagine. And with the large surge of very high numbers that the whole country is seeing right now in due to the many myriad global crises at the moment, we luckily had the funding with that to be able to expand a lot of our staff capacity. And one of those that took major priority was our mental health services. And we were fortunate enough to get funding to expand our services and capacity in that realm. And so newer to our team, we're very excited to have our mental health services manager, Latoya Brown Diallo, and Umi Nyasi, who is the mental health case assistant for this department, and also for our ROW stands for Refugees of the World. That's kind of our general case management as well. So Umi splits her time between those two, and I will let you all take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex, for that introduction. And thank you all for being here today. We're really excited just to be able to share a little bit more about mental health and how it relates to the clients that we serve at KRM. And of course, feel that this is a really important topic, not only because our clients have mental health needs that we want to help address, but also just to say that every single person has mental health and we all experience our mental health differently, and life impacts our mental health and well-being. And so we feel that this is a really important topic broadly and specifically to what we do at KRM. Also, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, so really grateful to be able to be here today with you all just to talk a little bit more about this. And so we'll give time for questions at the end, but just want to go through some information first. So to kind of start us off, mental health, it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So all of those components of self and how we feel and how we experience the world around us. So when our mental health, depending on how our mental health is, I should say, it impacts our thoughts and our feelings, and then also just how we show up in the world. And it also impacts how we manage stress and how we respond to things when they are difficult or challenging, or when various life events come up. And so mental health, it's so connected to everything that our clients experience, like getting their basic needs met on a day-to-day basis, but also in processing and dealing with some of the things that they may have experienced before coming to the United States, as well as potential stressors people might experience once they are here. So just one thing I will say is the topic of mental health, and that word in and of itself, there are a lot of taboos around it, both in the United States culture and elsewhere. And so it can be a delicate conversation. A lot of times when we approach this conversation with clients, we try to come through a lens of talking about wellness overall, mental health and wellness, how people are feeling in their day-to-day. Are they sleeping well? Are they having anxiety or stressors or memories that are painful? And then helping people think about how to work through those and what tools we can gain to address those things. And so coming in to the conversation of mental health from some different approaches is really valuable. And I think talking about it with people who were born in the United States, it's kind of the same thing. There are a lot of stigmas around mental health, but something we really want to promote and talk about is just that mental health is a normal thing. It is a thing that we all have, and we can experience it in positive and negative ways. So trauma, we at KRM is a trauma-informed organization, and we try to make all of our practices trauma-informed. And what that means is just that we are aware that people may have experienced different types of trauma in their life, and that impacts their well-being and their mental health. So trauma in general is an emotional response to disturbing, frightening, or life-altering experiences. And there are different types of trauma. So people may experience acute trauma, which could be an extreme emotional response after a single traumatic event, or they may experience chronic trauma, which would maybe be stemming from something that is ongoing, like abuse or domestic violence or something like that. And then there's complex trauma, which happens when people have experienced multitude of traumatic events and experiences. And so we don't know what trauma people have gone through, and we don't want to make any assumptions, but something that we do see is that many of our clients have experienced at least some level of trauma. Simply the need to flee your home and seek safety elsewhere is traumatic in its nature. And so, you know, for you all as supporters of KRM, just to know that everyone has their own trauma backgrounds or experiences. They don't define us, but they do impact how we experience the world. And so we just want to be sensitive to that. And we want to promote well-being, right? So well-being integrates our mental health and our physical health. And it's a very holistic view of how we maintain our well-being kind of in the world. So that's something we want to promote and address in the work that we do. So just some common mental health issues that we see a lot with our clients, but this is certainly not an exhaustive list by any means. There are a wide variety of mental health trends that we see, but many clients do experience depression, a lot of really kind of negative or sad feelings, kind of that overwhelming like heaviness people often describe it as, and depression can make it hard to get out of bed in the morning or find motivation to do daily things. It can cause, you know, people to maybe cry a lot or unexpectedly, or just to feel. Depression shows up in a lot of ways. I know many of us can probably relate to feelings of depression at different times. And then anxiety is another big thing. Many of our clients do experience a lot of anxiety around, it may be like fears about their own safety, or anxiety and stress about how to, you know, show up in a culture where they don't speak the language as their first language, or how to navigate the TARP system, or there are so many things that can spark anxiety, but there can be kind of deeper levels of anxiety too if a person is maybe, you know, afraid to be at home alone, or to walk through the neighborhood, or things like that. And so we want to be really sensitive and aware too that these fears may come from various types of trauma, but they are things we can help support people to work through. And then PTSD, unfortunately, that is a pretty common diagnosis as well for our clients. So post-traumatic stress disorder, it can occur in people who've experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, a series of events. Maybe, you know, we have in Kentucky or in Louisville, a survivors of torture clinic, which is a therapeutic service for people who may have experienced or witnessed torture. And a common diagnosis for folks getting services there is PTSD. But it's great that we have services like that because they really help meet those specific needs. And yeah, I'm gonna pass it to you.
So. Unfortunately, refugees are more likely to experience mental illnesses than the general population. Majority of the research that I've come across personally, I don't know if it's the same for other people, but for me personally, the main ones that I've come across have been depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So hopefully that is something that we will see improvements so we can, you know, get the full scope on the refugee experience and mental health care. Approximately 1 out of 3 asylum seekers and refugees experience high rates of depression, anxiety, and PTSD. And unfortunately, they don't always receive the necessary mental health care that they need. And that could be due to scarcity of resources and services, or also the stigma around mental health, as Holly was explaining. And I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with the stigma around mental health here in the States, but it's probably more around the world that people do experience. And then on the right, we also have a graph that is the prevalence estimates of mental health disorders for refugees. And for anxiety, it ranges from 4% to 40%. Depression from 5% to 54%, or 5 to 44%. And then PTSD 9 to 36%. And most refugees will experience a reduction in symptoms, but it can carry on for many years after they migrate to the United States. And then moving on to impacts of trauma, here we have listed the various issues that contribute to refugee trauma and mental illnesses. And there's definitely more than what we have listed here. And we never want to invalidate anybody's experience or to take away from what they've experienced. So it can be more than what's listed here. But in addition to before migration, it can be like any type of physical assault or any type of assault in general. In addition to the during migration, it could be being re-traumatized, facing like worry and confusion, not being sure what they're going to experience once they do arrive in the United States. And then after migration, it could also include re-traumatization, like I was saying. Family issues may arise. All of them are going through their own different things here. Parenting challenges, issues between siblings, overall adjustment issues, again, difficulties to access to care. Oops.
All right, so here in our mental health services department, how we help our clients, we do a variety of things, and each of us are involved at various levels, and also other folks outside of our department as well. We have partnered with a lot of agencies in the area that are open and willing and able to provide services for our clients, and either using an interpreter or they themselves also speak the language, whether it's a primary or secondary language. So that helps a lot. We're still looking to grow our network of providers that we can refer clients out for. We also have a victims advocacy program, and that is for folks who have, once they've been in the States, have experienced any type of been a victim of any type of assault or any crime, honestly, that they themselves would consider themselves to be a victim. So really trying to focus on client-centeredness and being able to talk through that process of what happened with that person from their point of view. So we always want to be doing that when we're working with individuals. We can get some themes along the way, that things that might affect people of the same demographic, country or religion or gender identity. We can definitely pull out those themes, but it's still important to focus on the individual client so we can cater the care towards them. So each of us will have a caseload, and that number fluctuates at any given time based on the referrals that we get internally, but also externally. And we also will provide professional training to people who are interested in partnering with us. So if you are part of an agency or know of an agency that might be looking to be part of, the refugee resettlement community, because it does take a community. I mean, we work in tandem with other places and people and organizations. So definitely, you will have Alex's contact information, I believe, and she can get you to us if you're interested in learning more about that. And then we also work on increasing activities for our clients, because some of our clients are coming from more communal places, places where you might not have to drive as much, or your neighbors will help out. So we also are planning wellness groups for clients, support groups, and some physical activities that are just going out and hiking or going some arts or sewing. So these are ways that we work with our clients here at KRM. And then additionally, you can also support by staying well informed about the current policies and laws that are impacting refugees and refugee mental health. I know with Title 42 recently, that was a big one that still, we're not necessarily seeing all of the effects of that change quite yet, but I know we'll start hearing more about that. Also, trying to be empathetic and putting yourself in someone else's shoes, being in a new place. If you see someone out and about and they're kind of look like they might not know, kind of where they are going, or they have like a paper in front of them and they kind of look confused, offering that kindness to people. And that's for anyone that, you might feel comfortable approaching, but definitely our community sometimes does feel isolated, even though they do make up a big part of our city. And then we have an upcoming refugee inclusion summit that's going to be at our Lexington, well, sponsored by our Lexington office, but it's going to be, I believe, at the STEM Academy out in Lexington. And this hyperlink will allow you to register. I think there is a nominal registration fee, but if you're interested in learning more about how you can become part of the refugee resettlement community, definitely check that out. And we also included CORE is our Kentucky Office of Refugees, and they have a mental health toolkit that we also look at from time to time, and we'll be utilizing it in our wellness groups here. And then also the World Health Organization has information as well. So definitely we appreciate you all coming, and we will open it up, I believe, for questions.
I was just gonna highlight that last slide as well for folks to see, to be supportive.
All right, it is our collective responsibility to create a strong system of care for all members of our community. Providing mental health care for refugees should be done in partnership with the other social, cultural, and family supports around the individual. This approach allows us to remain client-centered and cater to refugees as they adjust to life in the United States. Our goal is self-sufficiency. We want our clients to be self-sufficient, and we want to make sure that they have the resources to do that. So definitely, I hope that this is a call to action on what you can do when you're able to focus and be part of this mission.
Nope, it's just going back. All right, this thing has got a mind of its own, but that's it. All right, and we'll open it up for questions. If anybody has any, please feel free to fire away. Recording. I do see that Joanna has asked about a recording of the training. We will have that up on our website. So we're going to have a page. It's kind of centered around lunch and learns, maybe under stories or events, but we'll send that link out, and I should have everybody's information that joined the meeting, and we'll also try to get those out to you all, the slides, but those recordings will be available on the kyrm.org website.
I just want to add real quick before people ask questions, or maybe to motivate you to ask a question. When it comes to finding out ways to support, it doesn't always have to be such a large grant thing, like donating large sums of money, or always being at every single event, even though you don't have the time. It doesn't always have to be a large grand thing. Kind of what Latoya was explaining, it could be as simple as seeing somebody on the street who looks confused, that might be a refugee, and who has a paper in front of them or something and is just looking lost, and you can help them that way. Or just a simple smile and hi, how are you? Or not making people feel inferior because they don't speak English yet, because we'll see a lot with our clients, they feel bad that they don't know how to speak English, or that they don't know how to pronounce things the right way. And in situations like that, just being it's okay, using Google Translate. We've also found, at least for me, I found myself at the store or something, or seeing somebody who doesn't speak English kind of struggle with a customer service rep or something. And a lot of times I see them not go that extra mile to help the person with what they're dealing with. So you being a bystander, if you feel comfortable, you know, opening up Google Translate on your phone, being like, what language do you speak, and helping out that way. So it doesn't always have to be like such huge things, but just little ways that you feel comfortable with and helping, it goes a long way to help people feel comfortable and feel like, okay, this can be a new suitable home for me and my family.
Yeah, it really promotes that mental health and well-being for people to feel like they are welcomed and able to be supported through that adjustment process.
And thanks, Rita, for asking about the furniture donations. That's also another way. I mean, we do try to get the clients all basic furniture items based on donations, you know, a sofa, beds, tea kettles, dishes, all those things. So thanks, Alex, for putting that in the chat.
So you're welcome. Yeah. Rita, the link there, that includes a list of items that are currently needed by our clients. And then there's an inquiry form that goes to our donations team, and they can facilitate either a drop off to our warehouse, or we have a moving team that can also pick items up from your home or office or wherever as well. We try to make that as easy as possible for everybody. Because we do rely a lot on furniture, household items, especially for our Cuban folks, which we see a lot of. They're in great need of that, and donated items are specifically very helpful. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Send them there. We're happy to take it, especially things like kitchen and dining room tables and chairs and sofas and things like that. All those kind of necessities that we do for our home setups for people. Always a big need. Well, all right, you all. We're a little over past 12:30. Does anybody have any final questions for us? All right. Thank you all so much for joining. Check back for the recording on the site soon, and I'll try to get those slides out to you all today as well. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you all. Thanks, Alex.